Hello and welcome to the TTI Distribution Download, the podcast where we talk about all things happening in the world of electronic components with the specialists of TTI. And now, your host for the TTI Distribution Download, Paula Renfrow.
Hey everybody, thanks for plugging in today with TTI Distribution Download. Joining us again is Gabe Osorio. For those of you who haven't had the pleasure to meet Gabe here on our show yet, Gabe is the Director of Marketing for our TTI's Transportation Business Unit. We were just chatting a bit earlier. You'll have to listen to that podcast also about the status of charging infrastructure for electric vehicle and the electric vehicle market. But I know by that smile on your face, Gabe, you've just been waiting to talk about this. This marks a year since our first podcast.
Crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Our first podcast, we talked about the work truck show.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised you don't take vacation and go and watch them set up because clearly you love it. So tell us, what did you see this year?
Yeah.
What got you excited?
Yeah. First, thanks for having me again. And yeah, I can't believe it's been a year since that first episode. But yeah, we just finished work on the work truck show back in March, and another exciting year of growth in that. You know, this work truck show is exactly that. It's work trucks. So last mile deliveries and, the trucks that are out there working on lines or in fleets a lot of times. So a market that's ripe for electrification, but certainly a lot of other, I'll say, electronification that's taking place alongside in passenger vehicle is now moving into that commercial vehicle space as well, too.
So remind us for our listeners that haven't listened to that podcast yet, define for us, delineate electrification and electronification.
Great point. Yep. So electrification would be, your powertrain. So electrifying the way the car is propelled forward or the automobile, truck, whatever. And electronification is much more tied to the instruments inside your vehicle. So think your head-up display or your infotainment system, your cluster, your speedometer,
right.
That kind of thing right in front of you, all going digital now. So a lot more use of electronic components, chips, and all the like that are going into vehicles and greater content. And an increase of content. And that trend is what's moving into commercial vehicles from what we've seen. So obviously the electrification side of things at the Work Truck Show still very present. Mm-hmm. Just about every major OEM that was there had their electric vehicle fleets set up, and they were showing them alongside of a lot of major, I'll say, startups that are now getting into their third, fourth, and fifth years of existence, kind of really defining their design, improving range, getting better batteries, better charge time. So things just progressing along as we would expect, kind of like the snowball effect downhill, where as the technology was created, now it's getting improved at greater scale year over year, and becoming more available and interesting for fleets to really start targeting, which is what this show is really geared towards, right? It's these OEMs looking for those fleet managers that want to electrify, right, and bring that kind of reduced cost to their model.
Anything exciting that I guess they always unveil something, don't they?
Yeah, this year didn't have much of the unveiling side of things. It was a lot of very similar vehicle and technology, but what's interesting just from the perspective of walking around and looking inside the vehicles, that's where we're starting to notice more of the difference. So again, it's looking at what had traditionally been very tactile, push button that exists in the commercial vehicle market space, is becoming more digitized, again,
more like a passenger vehicle.
Yeah. So getting much more of that technological advance inside the driver experience, and then therefore making it a safer experience for not just driver, but also for those, driving near or around those commercial vehicles as well, too. So really that's where we saw more of the new design taking place. And from the designer's perspective or engineer's perspective, interesting to see what's becoming available from, again, electronification, so greater use of electronic components
in that area.
Yeah.
Right. So you said safety. So that's been a big topic recently, hasn't it? The rising demand for advanced safety in these commercial vehicles.
Yes. From a federal level and then, on down from there, right? But certainly more regulatory compliance within commercial vehicles. Manufacturers are having to include and add more advanced safety features. So think like your car probably has collision avoidance technology,
lane
departure,
centering, departure,
exactly,
right? Lane departure.
Which, side note, I am not a fan of, but I turned mine off because I don't like that feeling on the steering wheel. But certainly, it's a safety feature.
You might want to pick a lane.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Better driving might be needed. But adaptive cruise control certainly being one of those. And then even into the regulatory market for the emission standards. So you might have hybrid delivery trucks that are meeting or exceeding those emission standards, but there also may be trucks that are still the traditional internal combustion trucks that will have to meet emission standards, in some states more stricter than others. Think like California or some of the West Coast states, but that's also playing a big factor into it too, because as those I don't want to say restrictions, regulations come into place, it requires more, again, monitoring, more electronic components that are coming into the vehicle. So really,
even in still the ICE in the
absolutely.
internal combustion, right? The whole other, we talk so much about
electric
vehicles, but there is this electronification going on in the ICE vehicles still.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. So it's no longer just in electric vehicles. This is all vehicles from a commercial vehicle perspective, off highway as well too, because that is coming to play to some degree in
Tell
the
me
off
about
highway. So think of tractors for farming.
Okay.
Those are getting so much more technology put into them, from GPS to where those tractors can have seeders that pinpoint how many seeds drop to within a millimeter of their field.
Yeah, amazing, right?
To how much fertilizer gets sprayed on it, to being an autonomous tractor that has nobody driving it. And is relying solely on GPS technology or the mapping system that it has. So again, you can imagine there sensors and cameras and more electronification that goes into even those vehicles, whether all electric or not. There's still a huge explosion of new design content in the electronification space in those type of vehicles. So it's an exciting time because there's a lot of design opportunity for us.
So you're seeing component technology must be advancing as quickly. Do we see our customers, the design engineers, do you see them making requests of the component manufacturers? Because, how is that balance working? Are the engineers, they have ideas that they don't have the technology yet from the component manufacturer? Yeah,
that's a great question. And yes, that is absolutely taking place. The customers that we're engaged with, the OEMs, the design OEMs, are pushing design or electric component design forward by the requests that they have on these manufacturers for what they're trying to achieve. And a lot of times we'll get questions for product that doesn't exist today, right?
That's a great idea. But I have to go to the moon and back to get it. But
it does happen. But what's really good is that the manufacturers are thirsty for that type of request and put it into their roadmap for new product introductions in the future. And the really fun thing to watch is the amount of new product that gets introduced. We'll see, I think, a lot more product this year from all types of different technologies in the electronic component space.
Is any of it proprietary? Or is it being all open market?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, from like a standardization standpoint.
Of the components. When they're available, they'll be available to all of our customers?
To a degree, I would say yes. I think that obviously every manufacturer is going to try to differentiate themselves from...
Oh, so they'll just be a little different, right?
Potentially.
I'm following you, right? But they'll be available to everyone.
Yeah, at least from the point of, let's say, plugging into a board or plugging into a connector or something along those lines, the interfaces will still remain pretty constant and or at least pretty, I'll say benign is not the right word, but consistent, I think, is the right word. Where they exist today will continue to be. I'm sure we'll see new connection systems at some point, but thinking, without getting too technical, even just high-speed data, thinking how do you move all the data that a camera is picking up or a sensor in your vehicle,
sending it to a CPU or display of some sort.
So that interface still exists, but what's happening is they're improving it and making it faster to be able to move more data, the camera. You're getting more cameras, you're getting more sensors, and the response time needs to be immediate. So they're using the same type of technology that existed from an interconnect perspective, just making it faster, better, smaller cables, yada yada, and so on and so forth. So there is, I would say, more standardization that's taking place here as well too, and not so much locking out some kind of specific interface or open sourcing of something. It's pretty standard across the board, which is good. That's a good thing.
It's just right, a very good thing. So let's talk about alternative fuels. Again, I know we have so much fun talking about the electric vehicles, and so we made reference to ICE. Are we doing? What did you see going on in commercial vehicles? Yeah. From an alternate fuel perspective. Yeah,
it's interesting. When I can think about, 5, 6, 7 years ago, electrification was all the rage, still is the rage, but quietly in the background, there were companies like Nikola and Toyota and a lot of others that were looking not only at electrification, but also alternative energy. So think hydrogen.
Like hydrogen,
yep,
right.
exactly.
I remember that.
Fuel cell technology. So Nikola went through some challenges with funding and all that kind of stuff, but have come out the other side with a product that is really interesting from a fuel cell perspective that would really allow these larger Class 8 trucks going over road or over highway to get, 600 to 1,000 miles. From one fill up of hydrogen, where your only exhaust is a drop of water,
right?
Which is really interesting. And they're building a network of hydrogen refueling stations in the Southwest, so in Arizona and in California. It'll be really interesting to watch them test, develop, proliferate that technology. But you're also seeing that technology move into, maybe you've seen them on the road, like your UPS truck that might say a CNG truck, so powered by natural gas.
Yep. Sure.
So you're going to see.
I think in our downtown, the rapid transit buses.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So you're going to see more of that taking place as well too, where it's no longer just electrification that's going to help us get to a point where we're maybe not so reliant on internal combustion engines, but also fuel cell technology from natural gas or from hydrogen as well too, which again brings a whole host of opportunity from a component standpoint or a design standpoint, because again, just more stuff to monitor,
design.
To regulate, to ensure safety on. So again, just a lot more opportunity within a single vehicle to add more content that is going to need design engineer support on, which is, again, for us, selfishly, very exciting.
Yeah, yes,
right, from an opportunity
and the design
standpoint.
engineer.
Absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. So a lot of possibility there, which is going to be exciting to see what takes place.
Okay, so what other shows, trade shows, events are on your docket for this year? Because I want to be sure to have you come back and talk about each of those. What are you looking forward to this year?
Yeah, we're really excited. In May, we have the ACT Expo. So very similar to what we're talking about. It will host the technology for electrification, for all those alternative fuels, and it'll have pretty much every major commercial vehicle manufacturer exhibiting their version of that product
of an alternate fuels. Cool.
And electrification certainly will be prevalent there. Yeah. So we're very excited for that in May. And then coming up in October this year, they've moved it back a month actually, is the HEV and battery show, which previously was in Novi, Michigan.
I remember,
Moving to downtown Detroit, bigger space. They outgrew their space in Novi, so that's exciting.
Well, that's a good thing. Congratulations for them.
Absolutely. So we're excited to exhibit there, and that's a full week of probably the busiest electrification show that we participate in for the year.
And what week is that?
That'll be October 7th.
Okay, October 7th. The year is 2024.
Correct.
Okay, so you guys heard it. Come down, meet the guys, meet Gabe.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Come have a conversation.
Yeah, come have a conversation. Come learn something.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yeah.
So thank you again for being here, and we are already looking forward to having you back after those two shows. Come and report out to us.
Sounds good.
So to our listeners today, if you learned something from Gabe, which I know you did, then we have other podcasts that you're going to want to plug into. And also, if you want to keep up with Gabe's blog posts on our Market Eye Resource Center at tti.com/Market Eye.
That's it for this episode of the TTI Distribution Download. For more information on any of the topics you heard about today, reach out to your nearby TTI branch at 1-800-CALL-TTI or visit us online at tti.com.